I took on the challenge to focus for 12 hours a day like a millionaire. Here's my story. In 2011, I found myself stuck in a major life rut with only about $2,000 to my name and career choices that had left me feeling miserable and lost. The weight of my decisions was feeling heavy, and I knew something had to change. Now I realized that if I wanted to make more, wanted to do more and be more, I needed to become more valuable. And that transformation had to start with my work habits. I was determined to turn my life around. So I decided to reverse engineer the work habits of high achievers across different fields: business, the arts, sports, and science. I wanted to uncover what was I missing and understand the secrets behind the greats and their success. So I spent hundreds of hours poring over biographies, interviews, articles, absorbing every piece of advice and wisdom I could find. I tested hundreds of different techniques from the greats, from morning routines to productivity hacks, trying to find what truly worked. Through this rigorous process, I discovered the 10 techniques that completely changed my life forever. These are the habits that took me from feeling lost, stuck, confused to being focused and making millions of dollars. Napoleon Hill, in his great book, Think and Grow Rich, talks about this concept of tapping into your burning desire, figuring out what really drives you. One way of tapping into burning desires is to think about all the cool things that you want in your life. But another way is to think about all the things you don't want in your life. That was the tool that I used. Whenever you go and you try to accomplish cool things in your life, they tell you can't do things. I tapped into all the people who had doubted me over the years. I wanted to use that as a fuel, as a source of energy to be able to work long hours. And I'd use that feeling, that memory as fire to reignite me again. And that would allow me to double down and refocus again, using that negative feedback as a force multiplier, as a source of energy to get to that next level. Before we move into our next tip, I want you to think about that for yourself. Think about rechanneling people who've thrown rocks at you, metaphorically speaking, over the years. What sort of negativity has come your way? How can you rechannel that? How can you refocus that yourself so you can focus, you can do great work, and double down in your work as well? Most people, when they sit down to work, the first thing they do is they say, okay, great, I'm going to check Facebook first, or I'm going to respond to these emails or these text messages, or even worse, if they're feeling particular emotions or they're not feeling particularly great on a certain day, they're not feeling focused, they just let the day kind of float around. If you're just going entirely off of your emotions, how you're mentally feeling on a particular day, and you let that guide you, there's no execution that happens that way. If you're responding to emails or text messages, these are people who are responding to you. They need something from you. But if you want to do big $1 million projects, really produce for 12 hours a day, you can't be working on other people's agendas early in the day. The change that I made was that before I started working, every single day, I would sit down and I'd write down what I want to do step by step for the day. And I made sure everything was accomplished. And then after I finished those things, that's when I responded to emails and text messages. And the mistake that I made is I always thought, oh gosh, if I don't get back to people immediately within 2 minutes or 5 minutes, they're not going to want to do business with me. But what I discovered is that if people have to wait 4 hours for a response, it will be okay. Successful people, the type of people that we all want to be working with, they understand that other people are busy as well. Very simply, stop checking your emails, stop checking your text messages, stop looking at Facebook in the very beginning. Write down what you want to accomplish. And bonus tip, write down the previous day when you're most energized, what you want to do the next day. That way, if you show up and you're not feeling particularly great, you drank too much, you watched too many cat videos on YouTube, your emotions aren't going to drive your decisions as to what you want to do. You just execute the list, and that's how you can work for longer hours. More importantly, when you are doing the stuff on your list, this is your goals, your dreams. It's fun. It's exciting to accomplish those things, as opposed to responding to emails. Not the most fun thing in the world. When you're doing fun stuff, things that accomplish your goals, you're going to want to work longer hours. Write down everything in advance you want to do. It will dramatically change your productivity. You'll be able to work a lot longer hours. Now that you've written down your goals, let's talk about how you can get even more productivity out of this process. Now, what most people do when they start writing down their goals is they're just sort of brain dump what they want to do, and then they do things in sequential order. The very first thing that they wrote down, that's what they'll do first. Second thing, that's what they'll do second. But this is a huge mistake, especially if you want to be working 12 hours a day. Instead, what you want to do is you want to use what I call the brain dump ABC method. What you'll do is, yes, do your brain dump in the very beginning. Just write things down as they come of what you want to accomplish. Afterwards, what you want to do is write down next to the most important thing that you do. You write down A, and this is the thing that's going to make you the most money. That's what you're going to do first. You write down A, and it might be third on the list, and that's okay. Then you write down what's the second biggest lever that you can move. You write that down B. That might be fifth on your list, or it might be first, right? So again, brain dump in the very beginning, doesn't matter what order it's in. Afterwards, you write down your ABC based off of the biggest priority, what's going to make you the most money. You're applying your best, most creative energy, which is oftentimes early in the day, to your highest leverage activities. It's also really exciting to knock off big projects, and this also energizes you to be able to work longer hours. One of the problems in the digital economy is that oftentimes we are working by ourselves, and so it kind of doesn't matter if suddenly you're on ESPN.com or you're watching your cat videos on YouTube or TikTok. What I found was making sure that I had clear deadlines in which other people were told about them, and more importantly, other people depended on me to make sure that I got those done. In my previous business, we had a team of 7 different people who were working on the business itself, doing projects. Not only was there 7 people, but there was 20 people in terms of their immediate family who literally ate because of the work that I was doing, the projects that I had to do. When other people, they need you to do this great work, and it's important that you produce. Long story short, figure out ways to hold yourself accountable. Make it real. Don't just put in a little baby Facebook post. Tell somebody, this is what I want to do. Hold me accountable. Make it part of your identity. That social pressure can absolutely help you produce and get more done and work longer hours. Now, another very brilliant but simple hack you can do is to just put on a timer while you're working. Why do we need to put on a timer? Occasionally, you just get distracted, and then all of a sudden, the whole workday is done, right? All you're doing is, I'm going to work on this for 90 minutes. You may get distracted. You have a sudden impulse to go check sports scores or whatever you want to do. You say, hey, listen, the timer's on. I can go watch the cat videos or see ESPN or go dance in the woods, whatever you want to do with your free time after the timer goes off. It blocks those distractions from stopping you from producing. I have a secret confession now. I love ice cream. In fact, I eat a sweet almost every day, but I realized that if I wanted to get rich, I needed to work on the timing of my sweets cravings. Now, this sounds unusual, right? Here's what I discovered when I was trying to get more production out of the time I work. I noticed that I'd go to lunch, have a little treat at lunch, and then 30 minutes later, I'd have a major crash, and I just would lose my focus. I couldn't work any longer. So I go from pretty smart without sweets to having the IQ of basically a toad after a piece of cake. Think in those terms that Ben and Jerry's cravings is just not worth it. So from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., no desserts for Steve, darn it. Now, this is not diet advice, but it's a proven fact that when you spike your glucose levels from sugar, you just can't focus that hard. Eat all the sweets you want, but try to lay off them while you're working. After I sold my second business, I suddenly had a lot of time on my hands, and so I decided to pick up a brand new hobby. I wanted to try out weight training. So I started researching everything I could to get gains faster. I read a study that said weightlifters who sleep more get better gains. So I decided to change my sleep routines and aim for about 7 to 8 hours a night. When our body is rested, it just performs better. The insane amount of productivity that happened and focus I got in my work from consistently getting good sleep. Now, in the past, I used to sleep only 5 to 6 hours a night. I find myself wanting to stop working about 1 or 2 p.m. every day. My body could not keep up. But when I started getting these 8 hours, my work productivity just went up through the roof. I was able to focus for 10 to 12 hours a day, and it just felt easy. Now, in the future, I'll make a video about how I fix my sleep. But in the meantime, do everything you can to get sleep. Your productivity and the people around you will thank you. The next thing I did to optimize my time was I decided to track my daily activities for 6 weeks. I was just curious, what am I actually doing every minute of the day? that was very humbling when I first started. And yes, I know they say that redheads don't have souls or whatever. After 6 weeks of tracking, I realized I am definitely human. I made all the productivity mistakes in the world. My first layer of discovery was that I was on my phone, Facebook, and ESPN way more than I wanted to be. I also found that I was doing a lot of these $50 to $100 per hour activities throughout my workday. And those are fine, there's nothing wrong with them. But if you want to make $100,000 or $200,000 a year, cool, keep doing that. But if you really want to make a lot of money, then you can't spend your day doing that type of stuff. I had to focus on the $1,000 per hour to $10,000 per hour type activities. Here's the weird thing. Once I started tracking my activities, it was like a veil had been lifted from my eyes. I started becoming hyper aware of those in-between moments. And just naturally, I started cutting back on my phone usage. I stopped checking the sports score so much, and I made SOPs out of all the $50 to $100 type tasks that I was filling my day with, and I had my team do them. Now I replaced my time with activities that paid a whole heck of a lot more and were way more fun for me to do anyway. Listen to Uncle Stevie now. Trust me when I say this, it will turn you into a productivity machine. This $200 hack will get you hyper focused and be able to work longer hours. And that is noise canceling headphones. My best work happens when I'm what I call flow state. That means the outside world has completely sort of drifted away. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm only focused on my work. Which songs did you listen to? It does not matter. What matters is the energy and the inspiration that you get from it. Me personally, I choose to listen to instrumental music, a lot of times electronic music that's at a fast tempo, but for you, it can be anything you want. The next thing I decided to explore, because I really wanted to have the same type of output of these millionaires, is how are they dealing with their emotions? Particularly, I studied a guy by the name of Jerry Seinfeld, and I learned that he had done transcendental meditation daily for almost his whole entire adult life. I said, hey, you know what? This guy's worth about $500 million. I'm worth about a sack of Doritos and a half-eaten apple. Maybe he knows some things that I don't know. I'm gonna give meditation a shot. And of course, in the very beginning, very uncomfortable. I couldn't focus. My butt hurt when I'm sitting down. My legs hurt, right? And I'd sit down for 5 minutes and maybe I'd get like 20 seconds of focused relaxation on my breath. What happened was that just by sticking with it every day, I'd be able to focus for a little bit longer. To eventually, after a few months, I was able to focus for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. Not only did it make me happier as a person, make me more grounded, but my productivity when I worked went through the roof. So now what I do is I just do about 5 or 10 minutes of meditation before I sit down. I clear my mind, just focus on my breath. Any distraction comes in, I see it as it is, and then I just let it go as quickly as possible and bring it back to my breath again. It's just about being able to manage emotions and focus while you sit down and work, not let it distract you. Meditation is simply a tool. It doesn't need to be this big spiritual thing. It's not necessarily very spiritual for me. It's just about doing better work. If you build a daily meditation habit or you meditate currently, leave a comment below this video.